I hate artifacts, and relics, and echoes too. More accurately, I hate how long it takes to get something that makes me feel like I have a giant wiener. Briefly going over each system, Genshin and Star Rail artifacts and relics are largely very similar in that they both make me want to commit violent acts of terrorism. The general loop is resin, runs, regret, recycle, regret, rest, repeat. The actual acquisition of artifacts and relics is time-gated by each game's respective stamina system, so once you're out of resin or trailblaze power, you have to wait for what feels like 7 business days before you can try again. While there's nothing inherently wrong with this, if you have Stockholm Syndrome, it can feel pretty bad putting so many resources into something that gives you basically nothing back. This explains why my dad won't return my calls. Getting artifacts and relics is easy enough, but getting good ones is kinda rough. Every run gives you one of 2 sets. If you're building for a specific character, right out of the gate, you have a 50% chance to get something that's appropriate for your unit. For Genshin, you have 5 artifact slots to fill. 2 of the slots have a fixed main stat, but the other 3 artifacts' main stats are random, and most characters have an optimal pick, so out of all the possible outcomes, you're really only aiming for 1 or 2 and coping if you get the next best thing. After that, initial substats are also random, weighted towards the generally unfavorable stats and upgraded at random as you enhance your piece. This means you could get something that looks pretty decent, but, much like myself, it's peaked early and it only gets worse from there. Your only saving grace is that Genshin's artifact set bonuses only require 4 of a kind, so you have the flexibility of using an offset piece. If you're particularly fortunate, some characters don't even need a full set and can get away with mixing and matching 2 different sets for 2 smaller bonuses instead. Star Rail system is mostly the same, with the added ailment of more available attributes, more possible substats, and an extra relic to account for with no wiggle room for a flex piece. So, worse. But more on that in a bit. Now we come to Wuthering Waves, otherwise known as Woo. The approach is similar, but reversed at the same time. In Genshin and Star Rail, you do domains and caverns to get your gear, and use the garbage gear to enhance your less garbage gear. If you need more enhancement materials, Genshin has elite enemies in the world that you can murder for chances at more fodder, and shiny stuff you can pick up to further ruin your pieces. Star Rail allows you to get relic experience rewards from simulated universe runs up to 100 times per week, if you're a psychopath. In either game, I found both of these to be mostly unnecessary, and I only do them when I'm looking for endgame content. Wuthering Waves, on the other hand, allows you to farm your echoes from enemies in the open world, and the majority of your echo experience comes from spending your resin, trailblaze power, sanity, wave plates, whatever. Unlike Genshin and Star Rail, echoes can't be used to enhance other echoes unless they've been enhanced already. Enhanced echoes can be fed into other echoes, and you retain about 75% of the experience you've already invested and about 30% of the tuners you've spent. Those are the things you need to reveal substats. Instead of pieces that fit into certain slots, you have a cost count, and echoes have higher or lower cost depending on their theoretical contribution ceiling. Of 3 separate cost brackets, each one can have a variety of main stats. Since the game's still new, as far as I know, there isn't much data for echo main stat and substat distributions. But based on how many defense pieces I get relative to crit ones, I wouldn't be surprised if these are weighted against you too. That being said, there are optimal main stats you want on particular cost echoes. So, you basically have pieces that fit into certain slots. In terms of substats, any echo at any cost can reveal any sub, and that substat can only be rolled once per piece. But substats have ranges, so like Genshin and Star Rail, you can low roll and high roll. And if that wasn't enough random for you, each echo belongs to one of several set bonuses, and characters generally want the full 5. Fortunately, echoes drop from pretty much every non-human enemy in the game, so you have a lot to choose from. Unfortunately, you can't double up on the same creature to contribute towards that set bonus. So we're back to all random, all mid. The primary practical difference between Genshin and Star Rail system versus Wuthering Waves is the time investment. You can burn your stamina in the former 2 in 5 to 10 minutes and call it a day. The latter is great for those with a severe grass allergy that believe violence is always the answer, where you can spend hours each day looking for one decent piece, just to ruin it immediately. On the other hand, it's terrible for people like me that put in 52 sleepless hours to produce a mid-video. A mid-video video. Maybe the bags under my eyes are big enough to carry my Tower of Adversity clears. So if you're wondering why my uploads have been slow lately, it's because I've run out of funny things to say, but also because I spend 6 hours a day committing mass genocide. All that being said, with so many layers of RNG, how is a player supposed to cope? Fortunately, each game has its own respective systems to aid in mitigating some variance. Genshin Impact has the Strongbox, allowing you to throw away 3 trash pieces for a new trash piece, though this option is only available for artifacts that have been in the game for some time already. Star Rail, being more random, has more solutions. Like the Strongbox, you can sacrifice 10 relics for 1 new one. While this is more expensive than Genshin's system, you can do this for any relic available in the game. Star Rail also has self-modeling resin, which allows you to craft a relic of your choice with the main stat of your choice. But don't get too excited, because the subsets are probably still cringe. On top of this, Star Rail also has fairly regular events that double the drop rate for your planar ornament relics, which means you can get trash twice as fast. In Wuthering Waves' case, while the echo stages you run are mostly for the experience, they also include echoes that you can potentially use as gear. We also have the game's roguelike mode, which looks like an event, but could be a permanent thing. This allows you to get up to 2-3 cost echoes of your choice with the correct elemental damage main stat. But again, don't get too excited, because the subsets are probably still cringe. There's also a synthesis system, where you can throw 5 awful echoes in and get an awful echo back, with the chance of a big booty bonus. Or not. On top of this, more echo opportunities appear in later levels of the battle pass and daily rewards, and your data bank, which is kind of like a Pokédex, increases your odds of getting higher rarity echoes as you level it up. All that being said, I'm still a Wuthering Waves Wookiee, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I imagine the game will feel fairly grindy early on, but you'll eventually have more high potential echoes than you have experience fodder, so you may not feel inclined to go slaughtering mobs since your enhancements are time gated anyway. At the end of the day, it's only a game. Only grind if you want to. Most enemies in the open world are pretty easy to bully, and don't really require significant levels of sweat in terms of gearing. However, if you're looking to clear Spiral Abyss, Memory of Chaos, Tower of Adversity, your browser history, whatever it may be, it helps to be prepared. Gachas need some form of long-term progression system. Otherwise, on your off patches, you log in just to do dailies and eventually lose interest. Dailies aren't stimulating. Getting a lot of crit subs after days, weeks, months of flat defense and flat HP kind of is. It's also why gacha rates are as low as my self-esteem. You don't know high until you've had low. Funny brain chemicals aside, there are other factors to incentivize lengthening your playtime beyond dailies. How many of you have shared your good or bad experiences on social media or chat applications? Maybe something funny happened when you were doing your domain, or you hit a big number that you wanted to share with everyone. Maybe a boss just splattered you into a fine mist and you wanted to vent. This generates talk. It's good for things like algorithms and making things appear relevant. It's also kind of fun to just share relatable experiences with peers. It could also deter people from playing, but if you were going to be put off by that, you weren't as likely to keep playing anyway. Back to a game's relevance, the more people talk about something, the more popular it is. This makes the game's longevity look promising, which can make players feel more comfortable in spending and investing money, as well as pull in new players that chose not to play early on, thinking the game wouldn't last. While these systems are intended to keep a player logging in and building their characters, these can also be huge turn-offs, making people as flaccid as their stats. Now we have to ask, how much psychological trauma can a player take before they quit? I don't know, but apparently I can take a lot. The good news is, Kuro Games seems to be more open to suggestions than miHoYo, so while Hoyo may not bat an eye at me crying into a Taco Bell burrito wrapper in my car at 2 in the morning, Kuro might have mercy on me when I humbly request that all my echoes be good, every banner guarantees the rate up unit, and I gently be rocked to sleep every night. And not complying with my demand should reward me with 20 pulls to compensate for my absolutely appalling and abominably bad experience. A man can dream. But what can you, as a player, do? Cope. Like, actually cope. Much like how my girlfriends describe me to their buddies, your gear is mid, but it is enough. Kind of. They'll dump me, so that's a bad example, but my point is, the majority of each game can largely be enjoyed without sweating over your gear. Most players enjoy exploring, experiencing the story, or even just collecting characters. And while having good gear can make the experience smoother, you can often get away with the bare minimum and not really miss out on much. For players looking to challenge themselves with each game's respective endgame combat content, better gear will help, but great gear isn't necessary. Your artifacts might look mid compared to Johnny Showcase over there, but Johnny Showcase hasn't seen daylight in 15 years and his closest relationship is with the Thundering Mighty in the Emblem of Severed Fate domain. It's an abusive relationship. Gearing up may take a long time, but there's no rush. The domains aren't going anywhere and neither is the endgame. Sure, you might miss out on your full clear, but that's only 1 or 2 pulls every couple of weeks. It's almost negligible, and certainly not worth the mental duress. Gacha games teach you one of 2 things: patience is a virtue, and how to speedrun punching in a credit card number. The former is probably better for you. So, for the sake of catharsis, what could developers do to make farming gear less painful? Rerolling main stats? Rerolling subsets? Targeting specific sets instead of leaving it up to chance? Increasing stamina generation rate? I don't know. I'm not paid enough to think. I'm not paid at all. While there are a number of solutions that can be implemented to make grinding feel less terrible, is it actually a good idea? I mentioned earlier that your odds are trash. I still stand by this. But that means when you finally hit your diamond in the rough, the moment becomes much more exciting. Holy shit! It's kind of like the feeling you get when you hit an early 5-star, or run into a shiny Pokemon when you do decide to touch some grass. Because it's so rare, your brain gets a huge dopamine hit when it finally does happen. I've even seen some people say they like this kind of endgame loop. Farming gear may feel like a waste of time to some, but others feel it helps them maintain regularity and consistency. It's a few minutes, or hours, each day where you can turn your brain off and just go with the flow. So while some people may feel that God has abandoned them, others can find peace of mind, and that's kind of cool. I suck at conclusions, so that's the end of the video, but thank you for watching, and thank you channel members. And thanks to our newest member, I can now put you all in a vintage box. Everybody has such unique and cute names while I sat here for 19 hours thinking up this stupid shit. More accurately, I hate how long it takes to get something that makes me feel like I have a giant wiener. My mother watches these videos. This explains why my dad won't return.